to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo, Dr. Shirley and medium Kelly White. Two perspectives, one world. This is Both Sides Now.
Sean, go ahead and answer.
Oh, good. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Both Sides Now. I'm Dr. Shirley.
And I'm spiritual medium, Kelly White.
And John is home, sick.
Hi,
But
John.
He's still with us. Are you?
Hi, ladies. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we actually can.
Yeah.
Oh, poor
He's
John.
Okay.
sick, so he stayed home, but he's such a trooper. He's still going to help us
Yeah.
through this today.
Yeah. So it's just going
Good
to
to
be
be
the
here.
two of us today here, and John's at home.
At
So,
home recouping.
Yes. So let's start with
So-
a brief account of Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
What's going on again?
Energies and all that good stuff.
It was pretty funny. Shirley called me on Saturday, and she said, I'm supposed to go roller skating tonight with my friends. And I go, well, how old are you? Like 12? You're going roller skating with your friends?
We were going back into the 80s, and my friend invited me a couple weeks ago. And I usually don't do right brain stuff.
Right.
So I thought, you know what? Kel would be so proud of me. I'm going to go do a right brain thing.
Okay. The opposite effect happened. I was like, you're what? What? No, Shirley, you can't go. And the reason, aside from the fact that once you get a certain age, you just don't do that anymore. Aside from that, I'm so sorry, but I've just fallen too many times and not been able to get up. Mercury with retrograde this time is in Pisces. Pisces rules the feet. I already have two very good friends. You know who you are. Broke a leg and broke her foot. I did two different ones.
About that. Yeah, I forgot.
And James fell and hurt his eye. So I don't want anybody to get hurt again. So I was like, no, Shirley, I'm so sorry. I hate to be the mom here, but no, you can't go. You're punished. You can't go.
So I called my friends and I told them I couldn't go.
Did you tell him why? Because your friend the kook said? I'm sure that went over real well.
Well, they're both very spiritual, actually.
Okay.
So they said, okay, well, do what you need to do. We're going to go anyways. And then we all met up for dinner. So it was
Okay.
still very nice.
There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
But I just do want to remind everybody that Mercury is still retrograde until the 28th of March, which seems like just a couple of days away. However, it actually lasts till about, April 1st, 2nd, 3rd, something like that.
With the kind of residual
Yeah, the
effects.
residual effects.
Yeah,
So just, watch things like accidents, walking, tripping, falling, getting in and out of cars, those kind of things.
So, yeah, we didn't, we possibly prevented something.
There you go.
So I'll say thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. Anyway, well, let's talk about shame. We're going to talk about a really heavy-duty topic, but from two completely different perspectives, I think.
Yeah. Is there anything else on the energies of the planets that you want to?
Oh, Aries. We're in Aries. The sun went into Aries. So also, as I had mentioned before with Chiron in Aries, this is a time that you want to put your own oxygen on first, take care of yourself. And there will be a lot of changes going on now with everybody. You're going to find people moving, people leaving their jobs, people dying. It's a huge transitional time that we're in. Huge. So just be mindful of all the changes that are going around, and it's all okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's always such growth that can come from
Absolutely.
a difficult situation. But at the beginning, you're probably not going to know what that growth is. And I don't think that you should focus on that, because then you're skipping over what the experience is there for, and it could be very hurtful and very, very difficult to go through and very heart-wrenching. So that we need to respect that piece too.
And we're going to talk about about growth once we get into our topic. I'll talk about that from my side of it, so we'll have a little more information here.
So there's a lot of great books on shame. There's one in particular that I absolutely love, and it was written by Patricia A. DeYoung, and it's called Understanding and Treating Chronic Shame.
Wow. Maybe, John, you could post that at some point, that book.
Yeah, it's a great, great book, and it just describes it in a way that is so, from a lot of different perspectives, but in a way that is just very, very interesting. A child has to have at least one caregiver able to attune to his or her needs in a consistent way. If this is missing, the child translates the distress of that mismatch, feeling like, I can't make things happen. There's got to be something wrong with me. A child will never say, God, what's wrong with them? It's just pretty much impossible. It's very, very rare we'll get an adult and say, I knew there was something wrong with my parents from the get-go.
Although I do hear it. I knew it.
Once in a while. Yeah, you knew it, right?
I did. I actually did.
Yeah. So So that's the only, and that there's something wrong with me. That's what shame is. It's feeling like you're defected. Yourself is defected. It's very different than guilt. And guilt is I feel bad about a behavior that I did. Mm-hmm. Shame is truly about feeling there's something wrong with me. And so it feels cellular. It feels like that pain is really in the bones, in the cells.
Is it unworthiness?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hard to describe. I don't think that the English language has enough words to describe the depth of that pain of shame. Wow. And in all forms, it's relational. So it happens because of, a mismatch in a relational bond. It doesn't show up on its own. If we're neglected, that will produce shame because the idea is I'm not being paid attention to because there's got to be something inherently wrong with me.
Goodness.
So it still forms because of a relational, because of a relationship. That's why it's so important to work with it with a therapist, because that is then a relational, bond that can help heal the shame. And it doesn't strike a child because he wasn't adored or acknowledged or admired. It happens when the primary need of connection, that emotional joining, was missing. That is why I say over and over and over again, do not sleep train your kids. I know that pediatricians are still suggesting that parents do that.
Explain what that is.
Well, it's this ridiculous, insane idea that we need to teach our kids to self-soothe. In the first year, the kids don't even have that myelination in their brain, so it's virtually impossible. The capacity in the brain just isn't there. Kids need to know that there is someone there who's going to take care of me. They need to know that above and beyond anything. And in the first year, there's no such thing as spoiling. There's no such thing as holding too much. Yes, when a child is held and you put him down, he's going to cry, but because being held feels so good,
And safe.
Exactly. And that's the key, is feeling safe. And so once a child feels safe at home, it will feel secure enough in a self-confident way and an environment way that if something happens, someone will be there for me to explore their environment, which happens around 2. So the sleep training is when a pediatrician says, oh, let your child sleep itself to sleep. Yeah, cry itself to sleep. And you can come in once in a while and say, hey, and then you go out and the kid cries and cries and cries. The child stops crying because it becomes so overwhelming, it feels like it's going to die. Not conscious, because of course there's no language at that age, but it'll stop crying, not because it learned how to self-soothe, because it said, I need to preserve my energies because I'm going to die. And so now, sleep time, nighttime, bedroom is associated with terror. People need to know that, and that can plant a seed of shame. Remember, shame is relational. When no one comes to my need. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't set boundaries with our kids. Of course we do. When a child does something like, I don't know, wanting to put their fingers in the socket or something, you say no, and you stop them. And then you go, I love you, that's dangerous, and mommy wants to keep you safe. So there's that no, which initially causes shame. If you look at the body, the child would do this, and that's a shame stance. And then you repair with, I love you so much, but I don't want you to get hurt. And that's what mommies do. Or something like that, whatever your words are.
Right.
And so the shame doesn't get, in the body. Because what leads to chronic shame is unrepaired disconnection between the parent and the child.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the body part where I saw you slump your shoulders, is that part of shame? Is that what happens? It goes into the body, and then the shoulders kind of go like this?
Absolutely. The posture of shame is the shoulders are in, kind of curved under, and your head goes down. I'm exaggerating it, of course, but this is the body posture of shame. People who have chronic shame are deeply lonely. They have trouble with love. They have trouble believing that anybody could ever love them. And that is also deep, deep and cellular. The emotion of shame feels like it feels whole, complete. I'm a complete failure. I'm inferior. I'm a deficient human being. I mean, it's not just, again, it's not part of me. It's the whole of me. And so it's a full... they say the experience of shame is fundamentally nonverbal and visceral, meaning visceral is all the organs. You feel it here. It's a sickness of the soul. Well, that's what they've described it as.
Sickness of the soul. Interesting. Very accurate.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, very accurate.
Yeah. So shame becomes a protective, wall, separation. So because if you actually see me, then you'll see the defective human being.
Wow.
And so then I'm going to stay away from you. I mean, people who have a lot of shame have difficulty with eye contact.
Well, let's talk about that, because on the Both Sides Now page, Facebook, and I think on Instagram, John posted something that was really interesting about how you look at somebody with their left eye or the right eye.
Well, I asked him to do that because I wanted to tease everybody, because
That's
there is
fascinating.
something very real, neurobiological. People with a lot of shame have a difficult time with eye contact, and so you may not notice it, because when they're looking at you, they might be looking at your forehead or they might be looking at your nose, and you can't really tell. But there's a wonderful couples therapist who does a training. His name is Dr. Stan Tatkin. We'll have him on the show one time.
Okay.
And he taught that people who have a lot of shame, have a hard time with being seen, and a hard time looking at people. So if I look at you and I really look at you and I notice you're looking at me, that can cause a lot of shame, because then you're looking at my defectives. You feel my
goodness.
And so you will look at someone's right eye. People with shame have a tendency to look at someone's right eye, because obviously you can't be looking at both eyes, right? Because our eyes do this, right? So because if I look at someone's right eye, I'm connecting to their left brain. And that's a little easier to tolerate.
But isn't the left brain like the judgment part?
It's the logical, linear, no emotions.
Oh.
It's the less emotional part of the brain.
So I look at this eye. No, that's your left eye.
And you're connecting with my right brain. So the right brain that, is about love and connection.
That's
and
the
all
only
that.
eye I ever look at in anybody.
And when Dr. Tatkin brought this up, I noticed, what
do you do?
I look like?
What?
I look at the right eye.
So-
and if I switch, if I'm looking at the right eye, I'm okay. Calm. It took me a long time to have eye contact to begin with. But as I started to, when I look at the right eye, I feel okay. I look at the left eye, and I start to feel a little anxious. Yeah.
So with me, you look at my right eye? And you see a left brain?
Well, with you, I'm looking at your right eye because I feel so, comfortable with you and stuff. And it's changed from when I first started working on this. But yeah, if you look at someone's left eye and you connect with the right brain, that's the connection. When a baby from 0 to 2, you're connecting right brain to right brain, because there is no left brain that has been developed yet in the infant. There's no language. So it's a right brain to right brain connection, and that's when the parent shows the child. When the parent looks at, my favorite moments is to see the baby when they're breastfeeding or
I
eating,
love that.
and they're staring at the mother's face, like almost wanting to take like an X-ray.
Yeah.
If the mother smiles back at the baby, that's a sign to the baby with, I'm so happy you're here.
Oh,
I'm so happy you're on earth. With depressed mothers, unfortunately, they're not smiling. So the message that the baby gets is, there's got to be something wrong with me being here. I've got to be defective. There's something wrong with me.
Oh, my
so
goodness.
then if you look at the right brain, if you're connecting with the right brain through the left eye, it's too much. That's connection. Well, I'm defective.
So
that's
interesting.
Why it feels so
let me say a few things about the
Yeah,
spiritual
please do.
part of this, because we're talking about like newborns that come in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I'm going to start with the premise that we choose our families before we connect, before we come in. Okay, we choose everything.
And I know some of you might be thinking, was I on crack when I chose that?
Yeah, but we come here, so we come from a very spiritual place, a place of high vibration. We'll call it the other side, but it's a very high vibrational place. We come here into this density, and it's a low vibration. And we come we come here for the spiritual, but it's hidden in the mundane. So the mundane world is, you're in a physical body. We come here, we've got to survive, right? We've got to figure out how to survive. We've got to figure out how to take care of ourselves. Things are going to happen when we're here from birth, as you're pointing out. It could be with the mother immediately, not attuning. So, and that would lead to shame or whatever it would lead to. But we come here to find the spiritual meaning in everything, because the only reason we come here actually is to find things like love, compassion, kindness, empathy. That's it. It's not just to make money, or it's not just to have a mundane world. It's much deeper than that. But it's all hidden in the mundane. The spiritual is hidden in the mundane. So I say this because shame is actually, Shirley, a gateway to compassion. Did you know that? It's one of the gateways.
Wow.
So let's say we would have chosen guilt or anything that would wake us up, but we're talking about shame right now. So shame is a very low vibrational term even. It's low vibration.
Well, you feel it. It feels heavy. It feels,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it absolutely, and it expresses itself as unworthiness.
Yeah.
So you're unworthy. It's an undercurrent that keeps us living that in a belief that we are unworthy and that there's no bounty in life, okay? It often says, I am stupid, I am fat, I am this, I am that, whatever it happens to be. However you prosecute and judge yourself, it's something along those lines. But the doorway out of shame, the doorway out of that actually is compassion. So I'm going to tell a little story about what happened to me, and this is how I know that how to say this, actually. So years ago, in the 2000, I had a traumatic brain injury, as many of you know. I was at the height of my career. My life was like, it couldn't have gotten any better. It was incredible. But I was really, truly, highly successful in the mundane world. And then when I had this traumatic brain injury, my whole life shifted. I lost everything. I lost my home. I lost my career. I lost my boyfriend at the time. It was just an awful time to be for me. And talk about shame. There was a tremendous amount of shame in that because that's where my ego was, right?
Right.
And it took me a long, long time to even understand what had happened to me. The shame was so great. Yeah. Shame was huge. Yeah. And one day I was driving, and I never forget, I pulled the car over, and I just started sobbing. And I literally went into this heart space of, what happened to me? What in the world happened to me? And I had so much compassion for that. And having that breakthrough was huge about shame. Yeah. And then I could actually open that. It opened a door in my heart, if you will, that raised my vibration, that literally saved me. It actually saved me, Shirley, that whole process of this. I understood that it was okay to let all of that go. And so I say that because there's an acceptance that comes along with this, an acceptance that you can stop judging yourself. So I would say this for everybody to do. I would say, be careful and mindful of the voices that you're hearing in your head that say, I'm this or I'm that. I mean, you actually have to be very vigilant about it. Yeah. You have to be vigilant. Like, I had to stop saying I was this person in the past. I had to let that go because it was only going to hold me back and beat myself up. I actually had to let it go. Yeah. And your inner monologues have tremendous power over you. So please don't forget that. You really need to pay attention to all of that. But I want you to stop. If you're feeling shame, stop. I want you to look and feel what's going on and move into that heart space. And you may feel pain. Breathe and start exhaling that out. And do this over and over until you can come to this acceptance place, if you will, that you are an incredible soul and you've learned about compassion for yourself. That is why we come here. So shame is a doorway, if you will, to one of the keys of the universe, which is acceptance of compassion for yourself.
Wow.
So it could have started as with Mother right in the beginning. Yeah. Or it could have started in elementary school, or it could have started anywhere. I don't know.
There's always opportunities for someone to feel shame or shamed. Right. And it really has to do with the foundation of it. If you had a very supportive, parent that when you got home, you could share it with them, and they were very, supporting and allowed you to have the space, but held you with it, then we experience shame, but we can bounce back.
We can bounce back.
But when it starts from, from our family of origin, it's very hard. I mean,
it's very tough.
The intensity and the pain of shame, you can almost not, there aren't enough words or to describe it. And what happens is, because we don't want to feel it, that's where addictions come into play. That's where, even when it's not a substance addiction like alcohol or drugs, it's we overwork, or we never spend a moment alone. We're always,
stimulating or
overstimulating or over scheduled, or that kind of thing. All those things could be just so I don't have to sit and feel it, because it feels so awful. Right. It could be, eluding shame can become a lifetime pursuit, and anger may become the go-to response and react to the slightest arousal of shame. So that could be if someone is very, very angry. maybe underneath that is a lot of shame. You know, there was this really interesting example that they gave. Attacking others often serves to disown what the shameful person feels. In order to escape shame's self-diminishing effects, expressing contempt towards another person or shaming them relocates our own shame in the other. So, for example, you know, a husband who is anticipated being judged because that's what they believe, because they're in the shame spiral, they will then put down their spouse. And then when that person becomes weak and, you know, and you've kind of crumbled their self-confidence and they need you, then you can feel a little bit better and not feel so shamed yourself. So it shows up in a lot of different ways. And I love what you said about that compassion, because that's just it.
It's the gateway.
That's what little kids, when they were little, didn't get.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because of how the parent, and, you know, for the most part, again, it's not to blame, it's just to understand. But because the parent didn't understand how to do that, then a child starts to feel, it's my fault, I'm defective. So that self-compassion piece is key.
It's key.
It's
I
such
mean,
an important
listen, we
piece.
all come here to learn. These are the big ticket items. You know, again, I'll repeat: compassion, empathy for yourself, and then for others.
Yeah,
Both.
exactly.
So we would have chosen situations that would wake us up.
Yeah.
There you go.
There was something so beautiful that was written that I want to read. The empathy expressed in the nonverbal music of a tuned response eases the visceral experience of shame, even when shame is neither thought or spoken. You know, that attunement, that's why therapy is so important. When you feel that someone is seeing you, that's attuning to you, even when words aren't spoken, that can start to crumble the shame.
Right.
You know, and sometimes it's so hard because we've never felt good. So it's important to, you know, in the somatic work that we do, it's important to allow yourself to feel it. What does a compliment feel like?
Yeah.
Is it an initial kind of rejection, you know, no? What would it feel like to take in a compliment, to just let it sit there? Like if you were to imagine the last time somebody complimented you, even if it was nice hair, whatever.
Right.
How is it to let it in? And just giving that time to just really let it in and see what that feels like.
Exactly. And that's what I was talking about earlier. I mean, stop and then just allow yourself to have that experience, even if it's just for a moment.
Right.
And then those moments build up.
Absolutely.
You can get, it's like muscle with this.
Absolutely. The nervous system starts to, starts to expand its container to tolerate
Exactly.
these self-compassion moments, these positive moments. And, you know, another way to do it somatically is when you're noticing, and I would suggest, again, do it in, you know, in the witness of someone else.
Okay.
But the posture of shame, you know, when we think of something where, you know, we were bullied as a kid or something like that, the posture usually, even if it's subtle, it'll do this.
Wow.
So Dr. Levine teaches, you know, to go into that posture very slowly, all the way in, until you feel, you know, that you can't go anymore, and then very slowly come out of it, very, very slowly, until you're completely, your spine is completely straight. And take a moment to really notice what that feels like. And that gives your nervous system and your mind, you know, the opportunity to feel what the shame posture feels like and what it feels like to come out of that shame posture.
It's in the mind.
Yeah.
That's it, mind and then the body. And I'm asking to go into the heart so we can have some soul work with that.
Right. So it's
It
mind,
really
body,
is
and
mind,
soul.
body, and soul.
It really, really is. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So I saw some people calling, but I didn't take the call, so I'm going to ask people to call now, and I will.
Yeah, we were busy talking, but
we really needed to get this out because it's such
we
an
did.
important
It's an important topic.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love the work that you've done with this.
Let's see. Oh, but hearing it from that perspective, I mean, that is key. The self-compassion is really key.
Do you want to get John right now? I think he has something to say. That's John.
Okay, let's see here.
Okay.
John?
Hey, ladies. Yeah,
Hi,
so I
Jim.
have Judy in the chat, and Judy is saying, in regards to what happens when I can use only my right eye due to a cranial optic nerve for vision is on the same side as opposed to a contralateral.
So she can only use her right eye.
Yes.
So it has to do with what eye she looks at when she's speaking to someone else.
Explain that again.
Yeah, it's not so much.
So, Judy, what eye do you look at when you, with your right eye, what eye when you talk to somebody?
What eye are you looking at,
yes.
usually? I mean, sometimes we bounce back and forth, but there's one eye that we tend to feel a little bit more comfortable with. That we tend to favor, that's the right word. And so it has to do with the eye that I'm looking at when I'm speaking with someone else. Can I even have eye contact, or do I all of a sudden notice that I'm looking at someone's forehead or someone's nose?
So it starts with being mindful of that. Where am I looking? So if if I, for instance, look at, if I go like this, your left eye.
Yeah.
And left eye means the right brain.
Right.
So that's what I'm looking for.
So take a moment to look at my right
I believe
eye.
she has a challenge with one of her eyes. This is Judy Friedman. She says,
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Judy.
Cranial optic nerve for vision. So I think she has a challenge as in terms of her vision.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's the eye that she's looking at in the other.
Yeah, and the other person.
Not in the other person, not what eye she's able to look through.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, do you notice a shift in your body if you were to look at my
Yeah,
right eye?
it would probably, I don't like it as much.
How can you tell you don't like it?
My body kind of goes like this for a moment.
Kind of tenses
Yes,
up?
yes.
Yeah. Because she doesn't speak left.
I do not speak left. No. I'll tell you what I don't like about the left. It's just too fearful for me. It's like, ugh, I'm going to get judged on something.
That's so interesting.
I swear to God,
how you see it.
it's exactly how I see it.
See, for the
and then
right
I don't care.
brain,
But
the right brain is the brain, the side of the brain, and of course these are very broad statements, right? But that connects. So for someone that feels a lot of shame, if you really connect with someone, they're going to see you, and that's why it makes it difficult.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right. So should I practice looking at the other eye?
No, not really. I mean, I just do it. Once I found out about that, I was just doing it just for fun.
Now I'm gonna have fun with it.
And then I would, then I would purposely really try, with people that I trusted, really try and look at the left brain, and look at the left eye, and kind of notice my uncomfortability and let it pass.
So why do you get uncomfortable with looking at somebody's left eye, which would be the right side?
If you're avoidant, that's part of it. But oh my God,
Okay.
Shame was my middle name.
Shirley Shame?
Shirley Shame.
Who knew?
Just call me SS.
Well, Fiona says, wow, I really need to hear this. I think I was born with shame.
Yeah.
So
Well,
hearing
and
you guys
again,
are
Fiona,
amazing.
you may have been come in with this. So again, that for everybody that feels that they were born with shame, again, we choose our families of origin. We choose these kind of things before we come in, and we would come in to have to deal then with shame because it's what you chose to have compassion about. So if we can move from shame into whatever you are shamed about and move into that position, I wasn't loved enough, I'm unworthy or whatever, and get rid of those negative self-talk statements, put fresh, really healthy statements in there. I am loved, I love myself, I am worthy.
And I would add to that a visual, because usually it is, our inner child that was hurt. And so as you're saying that, I am worthy, create a vision. Imagination is so powerful.
Yes.
The primitive part of the brain doesn't know the difference between real or imagined. So create that you're, an imagery that you're holding that little kid and you're holding it and you're loving it and you're looking into
and
his or
move
her
that
eyes.
vision into the heart.
Yeah.
Move that vision into the heart. And when you're in that heart space, the only thing you can have is compassion, deep compassion for that baby, which is you. And as you have that compassion, you may sob. You just may sob you think you're going to sob forever. You come out of it. You come out of it, the other end of it.
It's a release.
It's a release.
Always know that it's a release. There's some wonderful, John Bradshaw, because his name has some wonderful inner child work that can help with shame.
And Brene Brown. For those who don't know Brene Brown,
she does a
powerhouse. With
TED
shame.
Talks about shame. She's great.
I've taken some of her classes too.
Yeah,
She's amazing.
She's really good. Do you have, John, if we're on the phone with you, can we take other calls, or how does it work?
Yes, you can. You can go ahead and go on to the next call. It should put me on hold, and then you
And
can take
how
that
do I
call.
see where the next call is?
We're having
All
trouble
right.
here without John.
We do have, I know, we apologize. We're
Sorry
just
about
kind of tech. We have someone in the 714 area code that I see, but I don't know, it doesn't show up so I can click on it. Let me see if I go down here.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Okay. Well, we're just trying to figure this one
We are
out.
so sorry.
Oh.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. Here we go.
I'm going to try and click on a 714 number, and we'll see if that works.
Okay. Is that with your
Hello?
left brain? Hello. Hello. Well, call back again, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need John here.
We can't do this. We're like,
there's
like the
and there's no
blind
shame
leading the
here.
blind.
There's no shame here. We just
No.
can't do it.
Just,
No.
no.
Let's see.
So let's see. Was he
yeah.
put on hold? John?
Thank you for calling Beauty Avenue Skincare Room.
Oh.
Please leave me
Oops.
a detailed message
hang
and
on.
I will return.
Sorry about that.
John, are you back?
Well, all right. Well, we're having some trouble with this, but again, no shame in this. Whatever. Mercury retrograde. What can I say? One of
Just-
those times.
We are just
So one of the
challenged.
things too, in order, if you get to that point, I want to say this about, if you get to that heart space of total sobbing and you're crying and you just need some help with this, please go see either a trusted friend. I mean, really, somebody who really gets the deep into the well here, because it's the deepest part of the well, or see a therapist. Really seek out somebody that is deep, though.
Yeah.
Okay, and you'll know the difference because you'll look in their eyes.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, someone that you can trust.
Yeah.
That you can really trust. And a therapist, of course, the trust is built.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not going to happen. But when you see someone, you can kind of tell, is this someone that I'm going to be able to trust or not?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of therapist, I will explore my own experiences with somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Do you do that too?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are some therapists that don't ever do that, which I always find oddballish. I do.
Yeah.
I really feel that, that people need to hear that it's not just them. I do.
So when you say you explore that, what do you
I
mean?
will.
How do you
I'll
do
say,
that?
look, this was my experience with that. So they can understand they're not alone out there.
Right, right. Well, that's why I think,
Oh, there's somebody there. 714.
okay, but that's not, they're not
Really?
answering.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Oh well.
John, I'm going to disconnect you. Can you please call back? Because I think...
You got it.
Oh, there you are. No, wait. John, are you there?
I am here.
Okay. No, don't go anywhere. So do you have any other...
Okay.
Can you give the number for people to call? I don't have it in front of me.
Sure. Yeah, it's 818-570-5085.
Right there.
Again, 818-570-5085. And if you're watching from the chat, just let us know what number you're calling from, first three of your
There you
phone
go.
number, so area code and first three,
Oh.
and we will find you and get you on the air.
Yes.
All right.
And it may be a little wonky because I don't know what I'm doing.
I
But,
know,
we
but
will
we're
try,
trying.
Yeah, we will try our hardest. And if you call in, also please turn off,
Right.
I guess, your computer if you're looking at it from the computer.
And again, if you have shame, if that is your situation, just know it takes time to work and deal with it. It just does. And it's a muscle. You just go back into that heart-centered place. And again, positive self-talk. And you just start to root until you get to the position of compassion. And that door sets you free. Once you get to compassion for yourself,
Yeah.
that's it. You're home free.
That's it, right?
Honestly, that's
that is
it.
truly it.
I never looked back after my experience.
Yeah.
Never did.
Yeah.
Just kept going forward. Would I be sad about it on occasion? Yeah, I was sad about it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that we
Yeah.
don't have feelings about anything anymore.
It wasn't yippee skippy all of a sudden.
Yippee
I was like, whoa, look what happened to me. F me. It wasn't
Right,
that.
right,
But
yeah.
I could understand what happened and I could feel great compassion for what I went through.
And then when things trigger shame, we can then notice it and then we can go back to the compassion. So
Yes.
it doesn't mean that we're not going to have any more feelings about
Or
know,
that
any
you
more
would get
shame
triggered.
feelings. Oh yeah, or that you're not going to get triggered.
Oh,
Absolutely.
sure. Oh,
Absolutely.
believe me, the universe will. And remember, it's a mundane universe. It's going to poke. You're going to get hit. You're going to get, shot at. You're going to get all kinds of things. That's just what happens here until you really start to fully awake.
Yeah, but the beauty of that.
So your consciousness shifts.
to your consciousness.
Consciousness
Yeah,
shifts. Yeah.
But the beauty with that, with the universe sending us, opportunities to see where we're at, is exactly that. I've had so many people come into my office and they have something happen to them, and they say, a year ago that would have taken me into a deep depression, and I would have
Right.
not been able to get up in a week, and now I
Right.
notice it. but it didn't take me there. So
right.
that allows
That's
us to
a
see where we're at.
And that's a huge step.
Totally. Yeah.
And especially if shame comes from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, what if you were a not wanted baby?
Yeah.
Right? And it's so funny, when I do readings for people, I often will come through, you were a really wanted baby. Or sometimes it will be the opposite.
Yeah.
But I usually share it if it's only the positive on that one, because it
Well,
can
there's
be.
no reason to, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not going to help someone.
Right.
Yeah. Unless they feel like I've always felt that I was unwanted, and so to kind of
Validate it, yeah.
that, sometimes
true.
that validation can really help someone.
That's very true.
Because otherwise you kind of feel crazy, like I'm feeling this, but I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really what I've always said, that when we incarnate, it's like we drink this Kool-Aid before we come in. And some people have had double doses, as we know. Please, for God's sakes, wake up.
Yeah.
But they don't. And but compassion for yourself will automatically start waking you up to a higher consciousness.
Yeah. John, do we have?
Judy brings up a good point about saying that the eyes are the windows to the soul.
Yeah.
So, Cal, can you speak a little bit about that, and Cheryl?
Yes.
From a psychological point of view.
Absolutely. Thanks, Judy. So the eyes are the window. So often I'll have my people, we're a soul in this body. So I'll have them actually pay attention to when they look out of their peephole. It's a soul. You're a soul here, looking out your peephole. Here we go. Oh, look, what is going on here? And then it kind of separates you in a sense, But the eyes are the windows. It's the only way we express ourselves, really. You'll see people talking, and all of a sudden they'll tear up, and they will act as if they're fine, but in actuality, there's an emotion going on. The soul, the eyes are everything to that. Now, if you are blind and you can't see, how does that work? Because I get asked that question too. Sensitivities, music, sound, there are other ways to the soul opening, but the eyes really are, to the seen part of that.
Yeah.
Is the soul.
Yeah. And in neurobiology, the eyes are the window to the nervous system.
Oh, explain, Cheryl.
So, yeah, well, it's very similar to what you're saying. So if I have a lot of shame, or I'm not used to having a lot of eye contact, then having eye contact, I'm going to feel exposed, and that's going to feel very anxiety-provoking. There's this Dr. Diane Poole-Heller, who was on one of our old shows. She's wonderful. She does a lot of work on attachment, and she has, it's probably still on YouTube, an exercise, eye-gazing exercise, where you imagine your mother gazing into your eyes. And the first time I did it, I just broke down because I couldn't imagine it. And it was so overwhelming to imagine that. Like I was actually being seen. And what was being seen, what you feel when you come from a lot of shame, is your disgustingness, And so
that's what you saw?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Mama!
So
I did not know.
That's what I saw, but there's
Poor thing.
You can't put words to it. It's just how you feel, but it's so cellular.
Wow! So it's so interesting you say that, because I just came back from Cancun with James, and I've been on with him so many times for so many years. But there's an exercise he does with his people, and it's fascinating. You walk around this room. You're walking around. All of a sudden, you stop. And then you gaze into that person who you don't know, their eyes. And I have never done, I've always done it so many times, but I've never not done it where people aren't immediately crying.
Exactly. It's so funny. You just came from that, and I just came from, assisting Peter for a week, and he did the exact same exercise.
Oh, he did? Okay.
And it triggered so many people.
Triggered
so
them,
many people.
So in my way, it was always such a deep emotion. I mean, I guess we never got to explain what the emotion they were feeling was, because you're not supposed to talk.
Right.
But what was it?
Well, but that's what it triggers. It's like, you're seeing me. And if I feel so defective and you're seeing me, it's just overwhelming. Crying is when the nervous system gets overwhelmed. So it's just an overwhelming feeling. Or sometimes you see the love in someone else's eyes. Another part of the instruction was, look at that person as a fragile, as a person who's had trauma that has the capacity to heal.
Oh, yeah.
And so then we were looking at each other in that way.
Yeah.
And
I view everybody as a wounded soul.
Yeah, that has the resilience and the capacity to heal.
Unbelievable. That's correct.
Yeah. So it can be very overwhelming, but that's why, thank you, Judy, for the question, because in the spiritual sense, eyes are the window to the soul, and in the neurobiological, they're the window to the nervous system. Yeah.
Isn't that something? Yeah. It's interesting that Peter Levine does the same technique that James Van Praagh does. It's interesting.
We're all doing the same thing. We're just calling it different.
Yeah, exactly. But equally high vibrations.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
With that. Wow.
Any other comments, John?
Well, it's interesting. I just want to bring this up. It's a little off topic, but it's interesting in the sense that I was at the animal shelter over the weekend and interacting with cats. And with cats, you are supposed to blink a bunch of times to let them know that you are being affectionate towards them. It's like sending them kisses.
Really?
So when they blink back at you, then they are actually saying that they trust you, and so that's a way of disarming any fear that they have, and a way of letting them know that you're showing them compassion and friendliness.
That's
So
amazing.
I find that really interesting.
And that that they can trust you. That is fascinating.
Well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I
then
didn't know that.
for people, if you blink too many, isn't that like they're not telling the truth, or isn't there something like that?
I don't. There's something in their
Something,
eye.
yeah, something in their eye. It's like a
Yeah,
nervous
I wonder.
twitch.
That's really interesting. But yeah, with cats,
Interesting.
you blink a bunch, and when they blink back at you, then that lets you know. Otherwise, if they just stare you down and you stare them down, then it's on. So
And it's on.
You're better to, yeah.
And it's on.
That's hilarious.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
well, that's good to know. Next time I see a cat on the street,
Start blinking,
I will start
Cheryl.
blinking. So I'm okay. I'm okay. I come in.
I come in peace.
Yeah. So are there?
And I know we have some cat lovers out there. So
Yeah, we
Yeah.
sure do.
Yeah. Are there any other? I don't see anyone calling, and it could be because I don't know how to do
It's
this.
because we don't know how to do
Numbers
this. Yeah.
818-570.
Well, Wendy says that she's done that exercise at several courses and retreats. It's always the same, as you stated, where people are crying. So I think it's a Sufi practice, isn't it?
Oh, I did not know that.
I didn't know that either, but probably
Yeah.
because Peter works a lot with the
With the Sufi community?
Sufi community. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Yeah. Well, that could be.
It is. It can be very, very triggering. And you know, if you look at it from a left-brain logical perspective, if I feel really good about myself and I meet someone new, I'll look in their eyes, and I'm gonna, and I'm not assuming they're looking at how defective I am. I'm assuming that they're just looking at me, and I'm looking at them, and everything's fine.
Yeah.
So that's when you look at it that way. Then yeah. And so when there is that kind of overwhelming, and that doesn't mean that's not going to happen. That we're going to feel that overwhelm in a business relationship, or when we're talking to the the barista at Starbucks or something, because you're not really but in these exercises they're asking you to really look in that person's soul.
Right.
I do that work with couples, where I have couples turn to each other and look at each other, and then I notice who is
Wow.
the first one that breaks the look, because it's too overwhelming. And when you break the eye contact, you're just regulating yourself. It's like when a baby does it, a mother and a baby are talking, all of a sudden the baby does this. Some mothers don't know that they need to let the baby look away, because the baby is regulating its nervous system. And so what they do is they try and follow the baby's gaze, and that will overwhelm the nervous system.
Wow. Well, I just want to mention this. I thought this was really interesting. From a Buddhist point of view, shame is all about self-hatred. And it's connected to basic sanity.
Wow.
That's it.
See that?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I mean, and it's considered, shame is considered an extremely powerful energy. So if we view everything as a vibration and energy, it's a powerful, negative, low vibrational energy.
Yeah.
And so work on it to release it. And how you do that, the key is to go into the doorway is compassion for what you went through.
Compassion.
Whatever it is, wherever you can trace it
Yeah.
back to.
Yeah.
And it's all
So
about the
important.
ego. Shame has everything to do with the ego.
Oh yeah.
And again, ego is the mundane. But some ways, it's the ego's important. You've got to have an ego.
Well, there's such a thing as a healthy core, sense
healthy
of self,
core,
a
yeah.
healthy, strong ego, not in the sense of it's overdone, because there is no,
Right.
because the ego feels so fragile,
Right.
which is what happens with people who suffer from narcissism, is they overdo it because their ego feels so fragile that they have to present this really false kind of persona. Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. John, is there anything else in there that we need to talk about?
Well, it's interesting because Fiona, when I went on the cat tangent, had said that she tends to connect with animals more so than humans.
Yeah.
She's wondering if that is a shame issue.
Good
Animals are
question.
way more unconditional love.
Well,
right?
it's unconditional
so
love.
There's no judgment there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can use the cats and your love for animals as a way to get in, because it's clearly your heart, right? And use that as an expression of how you feel about you and yourself, and go in there, because the cats and the animals are going to love you no matter what. And so it's all really about loving yourself. So maybe you can use that energy into the doorway to open that doorway up for compassion for your soul, for what you went through, for everything that you've gone through.
I love that you just said that, because that is definitely a place to start. Is, can you feel your cat or your dog, the love of your cat and your dog? Can you feel it? Can you let it in? And if
that
you
opens the
can't,
door.
Exactly. If you can't, be curious about that. Remember, curiosity is the antidote to judgment. What does it feel like that my dog loves me and wants to sit on my lap, or that my cat comes and does the cat thing, when they show love, when they feel like it? But can you let that in? What does that feel like?
Right.
Does it make your heart, expand, your chest expand? Do you feel warmth? Do you feel calm? Do you notice your body relaxing?
Yeah.
And that's the window then. That's where
That's
you
the
can
door.
get in.
Get in. Yeah, go in that door. I had a cat that was very loving. His name was Phil. He was the most loving cat. We slept together. I loved this cat. He'd put his arms around me. We would just sleep. He was the greatest cat ever. And sadly, again, when I lost everything, I lost Phil.
You did.
Broke my heart. That broke my heart actually more than any of it. So it was that love, I think, now that I think about it, that may have just opened that door for me, because I was missing him so much and felt so shamed about that I'd lost everything. When you have a head injury, there's not a lot you can do.
Yeah.
You can't take care of yourself, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, and you can't take care of others. It was a real interesting time, but I think it was through Phil, now that I think about it.
Wow.
You know what, John? Thanks for bringing up the cats. I love Phil. And he ended up going to a wonderful home, by the way.
Good.
But it wasn't mine. I was so bummed. Saddest
But
day
yeah,
ever.
cats can help us with that.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
opening the door to self-compassion and to feel what being loved feels like.
Yeah.
And their purr is very pure, first of all, and it's a very healing therapy. Actually, the purr is on a healing frequency.
Interesting.
They purr, from what I understand, for their own healing purposes, but anyone who is in close proximity to are also benefiting from the purr.
Oh, well, that's good to
So
know.
interesting, yeah.
Wow.
So we only have a few minutes left, and we wanted to make some announcements, right? John, can you
why don't you announce?
what we're starting next week? Because we are not going to be in studio anymore. As much as we loved being here, we're going to miss it, but we had to do something that's going to work for everyone. So can you announce that, John?
Sure. So next week we're going to be still on Facebook Live, and we're going to be connecting through a platform called BeLive.tv. So it's just going to be the same thing through Facebook, but you can actually come on video with us. So you can use your Chrome browser and connect with us via your desktop. Also, BeLive has an app where you can use that as well, and you can connect to the show that way. And we can see you and interact with you.
And if you didn't
from
want to
that
be
perspective.
seen, right, John, they could cover up their camera?
Yeah, you could cover up the camera. We just need you to be using the same device so that your audio comes through. But if you don't want to be seen, you can turn off the camera.
And then you'll put the instructions on Facebook and maybe on Instagram, too.
And we did a test last week, and it went really well. And we'll be looking forward to next week.
And we'll be doing a lot of readings. And Shirley won't be here next week, I don't think, right? But John and I are going to do auras next week.
Yeah.
It's going to be
fun.
great.
That'll be fun. I'm sorry to miss that. So then we're just going to a different platform, but you're going to put all the instructions, and people will still be able to call in, but it'll be a video call instead of a phone call. And if you don't want to be seen, just cover up the camera from your computer.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody. Feel better, John. We're going to miss you at lunch.
Thank you.
All right.
Miss you too.
We'll see everybody
Bye-bye.
next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo Dr. Shirley and Kelly White. Two perspectives, one world.